Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Screen Spice. This is episode number 5. I can't believe it's been 5 weeks already, which is pretty crazy. As always, I'm Nick Farinola, joined with me by my co-host,
Joe A. Hart. Hello.
And we got a special... I feel like I say that every time we do the podcast.
They're all special in their own way.
They are special. They're all spicy and special. But today, we have... I feel like we're going to be focusing more on some of our favorite games, or game series, rather. But we'll dive into that later.
Yep.
But as always, let's start with some news in the gaming movie industry. So Dave Bautista was working with Disney. So Dave Bautista, remember from Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians
of the Galaxy, and he basically all the cast members of Guardians are in defense of James Gunn, and I've been seeing a bunch of newsletters and articles saying that Disney might hire him for another film, but like, who cares about the other film? Let him finish.
Yeah, I don't see a point of hiring him for another if you're not just going to hire him for what he's good at.
I know. And so, but anyway, Dave Bautista said that working with Disney is quote-unquote nauseating, and he even used the hashtag cyber-Nazis and claims that he will do what he is legally obligated to do, which means he will star in the movie, but he will not be happy about it, and he referred to Disney as cyber Nazis. So that's pretty. Yeah, he should really.
You don't just toss that around.
Yeah,
like, that's pretty big.
Even if it was something else, like these people gave Disney kind of, they're such a huge company. They're basically the biggest, and they have so much power. Now I feel like after them kicking out James Gunn over a couple of just weird tweets. Yeah. Who knows what I mean, obviously they're not going to kick him out of being Drax, but who knows? Right. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Pretty ballsy move on his part.
For sure. So next, Johnny Depp, his movie City of Lies, which is on, it's kind of like the Notorious B.I.G. Like murder, and it kind of follows Johnny Depp's character, who Russell Poole. But they actually, I think it was, I'm trying to think who, Global Road has basically pulled it. It was supposed to be scheduled for a September 7th release date. I've never even heard of it, but Global Road has completely pulled it with no new release window. And like, just as a synopsis, it follows LAPD detective Russell Poole as he investigates the murders of Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. So not only was it pulled and not scheduled for a new release date, Johnny Depp actually assaulted the location manager. His name is Greg Rocky Brooks, and now Greg is suing Depp for attacking him. So Johnny Depp's career has been shitty for so long.
This is like far from the first time he's done things like with other crew members, like in terms of like assault or even like verbal abuse, like. And I've read up a little bit, and it turns out that like Depp apparently is indebted to like a variety of like producers and stuff. Like he's actually like pretty much broke, and
oh my God.
Like, I mean, he's also been, I think, going through the divorce, right? Like
I honestly, this is the first time I knew that Depp was going through some financial difficulties and he's kind of going crazy, but I didn't think that he was in this much deep shit.
Yeah, he's pretty much like fully in debt at this point.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out when this movie actually comes out. Usually when movies get pulled and scheduled for a later release date or delayed, it doesn't look good, and it probably isn't good. I'm trying to think of an example recently. That John Travolta Gotti movie. It was delayed. I think it began production in like the year we graduated high school, in 2014.
Yeah.
And it just came out, and it was met with like awful reviews. It was critically panned by everyone. And then what else? The New Mutants. What's that horror movie X-Men?
Did that come out?
No, it was supposed to come out this past April.
I was gonna say, yeah, like
scheduled.
I remember hearing about that a long time ago.
Right, it got delayed until next year, I think. I don't know. So, I mean, sometimes reshoots aren't a bad thing, but it just like the production costs are already so high that delaying these movies even more, it usually doesn't spell anything good
Right,
for
because
the
usually
final
you have to
product.
like cut so many things and like cut back due to like trying to just keep the movie afloat.
Right.
So there's gonna be like a lot of things that could have been good, but just usually turn out like mediocre at best.
Right. And I know this is different. This is gaming industry, but Final Fantasy 15 was delayed and there was so much problems with its
Yeah.
production, but look how it turned out. It turned out to be one of the best reviewed
Mm-hmm.
games of the year and people still play it. They love it. So I guess, that doesn't happen often, so.
Because it's like, yeah, there's either like something caught in studio hell because there's just a lot of like weird issues with
Mhm.
it, or it's that people just want to make it the best quality product they can.
Right.
And so it's like until it comes out, you never really know which one it's gonna be at that point.
Do you remember Oren Pelly? He was the director of the very first Paranormal Activity movie, and then he became like a
Yes.
producer for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of them. He actually made a movie. It was another found footage movie that came out a couple of years ago. It was called Area 51,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about a group of 20-something-year-olds basically sneaking into the Area 51, and
Yeah.
lo and behold, found aliens, and it's a whole found footage horror
Oh,
movie.
right.
It was
I do
pretty
remember
generic.
that. I do remember that.
I didn't think it was terrible, but it was pretty generic,
Mm-hmm.
and it was done for years, and then it was shelved, and then it was released, and obviously no one saw it, no one paid attention to it, and the people who did see it hated it. Like, so there's a lot of, it's not a good sign when movies are just pushed off and
Right.
left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. So Fallout 76, right now QuakeCon is going on.
Yeah.
And we'll get into more with that because they just released new Doom Eternal gameplay. If you
Mhm.
happen to watch that, and then
Oh yeah.
we'll get into that. But and Quake Champions, which I don't really care about, but
Mm.
it's cool. But they released a new trailer for Fallout 76, which kind of shows the special perks, which are kind of like cards now, which is pretty interesting. But besides that, at least from when I wrote these notes, there's nothing else new about Fallout 76. But for those of you that want to play Fallout 76 on Steam, that's not going to happen. It's not releasing on Steam. It's releasing on Bethesda.net. So just so you guys know, it will not be releasing on Steam, which isn't a huge deal. Just get a Bethesda.net account. It's free and buy it from there.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it won't eventually come onto Steam, but for when it's released on November 14th, I think it is, it will be only available on Bethesda.net. All right, so there was more on the new Halo, the Showtime Halo TV series.
Mhm.
That's pretty awesome. So it was recently announced that Master Chief will be one of the leads.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be the main focus. He's not going to be like the one and only character, but he will be a focus. We'll get into that and how I feel about that. But the president of programming, Gary Levine, told IGN, this is the source, that he will be in focus within the show. Like it'll follow other people because it says that the show is going to take place over multiple galaxies and not galaxies, but multiple planets and stuff with different leads. It's scheduled to release in 2020. And yeah, like I said, there's multiple locations, foreign planets, which probably means that shooting is not going to happen on location. It's probably going to be shot in a backlot because we can't fly to another planet. We can't take a rocket ship to another planet and film. It'd be pretty cool.
Taking
Maybe
so
one day.
many shortcuts these days. Studios. It's crazy.
I know, crazy. But yeah, we'll talk about more about that and personally how I feel because I was listening to some other podcasts of people saying that that they want Steve Downes to voice Chief and I completely agree with them.
100%. Especially if he's going to be fully armored the whole time.
Right, and I'm curious to see if he's going to be completely CG'd. Like Steve Downes is, he's not a fucking Spartan. He's
right.
built like a Spartan.
Well, I imagine they'd get someone
a body double, but I don't know. I feel like it would look kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
We'll get into that again. So this is on Dave Bautista again. So Dave Bautista said that he wants to leave Guardians of the Galaxy 3 if they don't use James Gunn's script.
Really?
So this is turning into a big shit show.
Yeah.
It really is. It's turning into one massive shit show. I don't know what's going to happen. They should use Gunn's script, but knowing Disney, they don't want to, that's still his name.
My initial thought was that they were keeping this script,
That's what I thought
they just
too.
were gonna hire a different director, but if they're gonna scrap this script, that's not good at all for this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Dave feels the same way.
Dave is, yeah. Interesting how he's like by far the most passionate one out of all of them so
Yeah,
far.
apparently when he first got the news that he was playing Drax in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, he was like bawling his eyes out. He was
Hmm.
so happy, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Again, on Fallout 76, the beta, which I believe is coming out in a couple months, maybe a month or two,
Hmm.
is basically the entire game, and progress will carry over to when it actually releases. So I believe it starts in October, and it comes out first on Xbox, the beta. So unlike the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 beta, your progress will
Hmm.
save over, which is cool.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually huge. Joe, I don't know if you heard about this. So there's this game called Dead Cells, which is a roguelike Dark Souls, and I don't want to say Dark Souls inspired, but that's
Hmm.
what people have been using. It's a 2D platformer,
Okay.
has roguelike elements to it. It's so obviously it's really hard. The combat's
Yeah.
fast and fluid. The controls are very tight. It's getting critical praise everywhere. Everyone
Hmm.
loves it. Because it kind of plays out like I believe it's procedurally generated. So it's designed so that you die a shit ton, but when you die, you're gonna spend all these cells and money currency that you collected to upgrade yourself more. It's a Metrovania basically, so
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
progress further. I like those games, but I'm not a fan of ones that are as punishing as something like Dark Souls.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's not the point. So this guy named Boomstick Gaming on YouTube created a review of the game, and he praised it just like
Hmm.
most people. IGN put up their review by a guy named I believe I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, but it's like Philip Mewson or something, and he is one of the editors for the
Hmm.
Nintendo part of IGN. And he put up a review giving it a 9.7, saying it was excellent. So Boomstick Gaming then a couple days later posted a video. I forget the exact title, but it said IGN copied my review. What do I do?
Hmm.
And he put the two side by side, played part of the IGN, played part of his. It was literally word for word,
Yeah.
aside from a couple of different words, the exact same review.
Yeah, I did see this video actually.
So Boomstick Gaming, I believe, only has a couple thousand subscribers, maybe a little bit
Hmm.
more than that. IGN has almost 10 million followers, if
Right.
not 10 million followers on or subscribers on YouTube.
Hmm.
So this guy was probably thinking, no one's gonna know, no one's ever gonna know,
Hmm.
no one's gonna say anything, and he did it, and now he's canned. IGN fired him, and I believe it was yesterday or today. They had one of the producers come on screen, and they were filming a video. Um, Basically, it was through IGN. It was Brian Altano,
Hmm.
and he was reading off a script saying how sorry they are. We here at IGN we want to create original content. They used Boomstick Gaming, his direct YouTube channel, saying how sorry they were, which is good of them what they
Yeah.
did. But plagiarism, it just goes to show you how serious plagiarism is.
Absolutely, and especially when you're plagiarizing as like the larger like entity like
Yeah.
IGN, and I can't imagine what was going through his head, like why you would take a review of some, like you're trying to review something, so you take something that already exists out there and you put it on the same platform.
Yeah.
I don't know why this guy thought that the other guy wouldn't see this.
Because IGN is such a huge. Whenever a game releases,
Mhm.
I check three things first: Game
Mhm.
Informer, GameSpot, and IGN.
IGN, yeah.
I always check reviews on those three websites.
Hmm.
And for this guy obviously got canned immediately, but it just doesn't look good for
Hmm.
IGN. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So that was a something. There was a huge controversy that
Hmm.
that
Well, I'm glad the IGN handled it pretty well this time and just fired the guy.
right.
It's not like they like protected him or anything. Like they're fully aware, so that's good.
Right. So moving on to that. So We Happy Few, which released this Friday, August 10th. After I believe it was released in summer of August 2016 on Steam as early access, as a basic survival game with no
Hmm.
story elements in it. That's not the game. People saw more in this game, and they
Hmm.
wanted to, they told Compulsion to, change it up. And so basically, Compulsion took the game down from Steam, and here we are in August 2018 with a new narrative. It's a linear narrative, but it's in an open world, and I use open world very loosely because it's kind of It's kind of barren. It's post-apocalyptic unless you take your joy. But the whole story behind it is I just bought the game and I'm about an hour and a half, 2 hours into it. Without any spoilers, you play three protagonists. It's kind of like GTA. It's Arthur and then this one lady who actually is working with the government to make sure everybody's taking their joy pills. And then this other guy who's like this soldier who has diabetes, and it's important because it's a survival game because you have to maintain your hunger, your thirst,
Right.
your sleep, all that. But it's really cool how the three narratives kind of intertwine. But the whole point about it is it's an alternate history, so it takes place in the United Kingdom in the 1960s. I believe it's 1964. It opens in October. And the Germans, it's almost as if the Germans won and they're now occupying the UK. And the destruction of war and the horrors of war has caused the place to be a shit show basically. So this pill Joy, it's called Joy, is something that you take and it's a hallucinogenic that makes you literally see sunshines, rainbows, and butterflies. Everybody's happy, but if you take too much of the joy, you start to forget things, and just like any pill, if you take it too much, the effects start to wear off. So there's kind of a dichotomy in the societal part of aspect of the setting where there's the rich people who have a job. Most of the jobs are worked around newsletters and how they just like Arthur. He's this guy who kind of sits at this little computer and he's fed different newsprints that span back to the 40s, and he can choose to either censor them, which is literally cover them with black, or approve them that are based on the German rule basically. And it's pretty cool because throughout the environment you see World War II fighter planes like crash down on the buildings. There's all this Nazi propaganda everywhere. It's almost like they all cleared out. So that's kind of like the whole premise of it. It's really cool. And we'll dive into that and my impressions on it later in the podcast. But they just released the season pass details, so we're gonna get 3 expansions. And I'm just trying to see what. So the 3 expansions are called They Came Below, Lightbearer, and We All Fall Down. And what we're going to get with the expansion is an infinite mode or a sandbox mode, which I'm assuming is, kind of like a Minecraft sandbox mode where you don't really have to worry about the effects or something like that. And then in the sandbox mode, you can actually adjust some of the things that you want. So you can kind of craft your own. The place is called Wellington Wells. You can kind of craft your own Wellington Wells. So you can make more people. You can make the world smaller or bigger. You can make less food. You can make it more challenging or easier for yourself, which is cool. But I will get more into my impressions of the game later on. So moving on to more news, Edward James Olmos. You'll probably know him from Battlestar Galactica. I never watched it, but he was in The Predator, the new movie The Predator that's coming out. But every single one of his scenes had to be cut because the movie is 45 minutes too long. And he was completely okay with it. He's like, yeah, I understand. He still gets a paycheck.
That's true.
So
that's very interesting. Yeah. I feel like you never hear about someone being okay with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Look at Jared Leto with Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He filmed hours. He said he filmed like hours
of footage. Yeah.
Whatever. Movie Pass in recent news they've been struggling recently. But now they're actually making their first production with Bruce Willis.
Which, interesting, just idea in general. Like I never thought I'd see Movie Pass actually try and create a production now. You think this could be the start of something like Netflix, where then when they started to make their own productions and blew up? Could this be like the very start of something like that? I think for them, it's like this is kind of like a make or break because as we've seen, Movie Pass is completely struggling right now.
Oh yeah,
and. I mean, so if this movie doesn't do well, I think that's probably a one and done for them. But, I mean, if it does do well, then I think we could see probably, another sort of, either, streaming thing or just kind of, separate sort of, production studio, through them. That'd be interesting. Yeah, but, the movie's called 10 Minutes Gone. It's about Bruce Willis, who loses 10 minutes of memory after a bank heist goes wrong. So it could be cool. I don't know. Bruce Willis's last movie was that awful Eli Roth movie. It was a remake.
Death Wish.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
heard it was terrible.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, exciting news. The Oscars are now including a popular film category. So, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the case of, let's say, American Sniper, the year that came out,
Right.
it was a huge box office success. And it got nominated for a good amount of awards, but it didn't win Best Picture, and it was the most popular movie that year.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's good that they're adding this
Yeah.
category. They're all not only are they adding a new category, they're also gonna shorten their broadcast time, and they're gonna move it back to an earlier date for future shows. And John Bailey, who's a famous cinematographer, he
Mm-hmm.
was now reelected as the president. So,
Hmm.
yeah, if you didn't know that, now you do. God of War is getting a free update that includes New Game Plus mode, and it's unlockable after completing
Mm-hmm.
the game once, and it comes out on August 20th. So basically, what New Game Plus is going to give you: higher level enemies, new tricks, new rarity level of equipment, and this resource called the Scap Slag, which you'll be able to collect and upgrade your gear with. And I don't know why anyone would want to do this unless it's for speedrun purposes,
Mm-hmm.
but you can now skip the cinematic cutscenes on any difficulty.
Yeah.
Which, if you are going through your first playthrough of that game, you should never do that because it's a
Absolutely
really great
not.
game. But I can understand if you're trying to speedrun the game now, or just play it again on a higher difficulty with new things, then you can skip it. Exciting news for you, Joe. Power Rangers is getting a sequel.
Yes.
Coming soon. Hasbro
Yeah.
CEO Brian Goldner just announced that
Mhm.
they're working on a new one. So if you guys are Power Rangers fans, you're gonna get
Yeah,
another one.
I never saw the first remake.
Neither did I. I don't know. It kind of looked like a Michael Bay version of Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's like essentially what the first one
Not
was.
my style. I do love Power Rangers. I mean, I loved it as a kid.
Oh yeah.
I watched Power Rangers Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Turbo Force.
the dragon, well, not the dragon one. The
What was
Dinosaur Squad.
the that one? Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the exact name. Okay, so I don't know if you saw this, but Red Dead Redemption 2 got a new gameplay trailer.
I
It's about
did.
6 minutes long. Some
lot of
interesting
interesting
stuff
stuff there.
Yeah, you can now diffuse situations by by through interacting
Mm-hmm.
with your environment. You can now go to towns and fight with the local tough guy. You can negotiate with the sheriff if you have like crimes against you.
Mm-hmm.
Your actions have consequences. So a random woman in the trailer comes over to you and says, "You killed my cousin." It's like,
Yeah.
what? And then there's now a special bond with your horse. So if you don't, I don't know if you don't feed it well or you don't treat it well. So in the old Red Dead Redemption, when I'm fucking around with it,
Oh, I've
I would-
literally gone through countless horses
Yeah,
in the
like,
last game.
what
Yeah.
I would do is I would get it galloping really fast,
Mhm.
take out my pistol and aim it at its head as it's running,
Jesus.
and then shoot it, and then you go flying up. So that probably wouldn't create a good bond with your horse.
Oh, absolutely.
So pet it, treat it nice, feed it, and you'll be good.
It'd be like the Nintendogs, but with your horse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's gonna be. It looks fantastic.
It really does, and like the whole new like the camp system, how it's like you have your whole kind of camp of, I guess, bandits that you're like your whole gang that you're with, and pretty much like your gang like moves around locations,
Yeah.
and you interact with like different members. There's a lot of gang members. Like it's not like a couple. There's like a whole small community of them.
hmm
And I guess as you interact with like certain ones more or less, like your camp can change and you can get more stuff or less
Yeah.
stuff, new quests. So it's going to be a very involved game, which I think is good.
It's not surprising.
No, I think Rockstar always pushes like the limits, like every release they have.
And what I love about Rockstar is they release trailers that are so good, they hype everyone up.
Yep.
Only a couple trailers. Then you can't actually see any gameplay until the day the game releases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. Check out the trailer. There's going to be another trailer that I think is going to be talking about some multiplayer aspects and more stuff that's coming soon. So Smash, you're a fan of Super Smash Bros,
Yeah.
right? So there's now going to be, it was confirmed that Ultimate is going to have over 103 stages,
Mm-hmm.
and Simon Belmont from Castlevania is joining the roster, as well as this like alligator guy that I don't R
What's
Cool
his face?
something.
King Cruel.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
from Donkey Kong. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea who he was, but he looks pretty cool.
Yeah. The character roster in this game is ridiculous. Like the amount of
Yeah.
characters they've added now, it's like, because what did they add? They added Samus's.
Oh, It was like Dark Samus.
Well, they added Dark Samus, and then
Oh, Ridley.
Ridley.
Yeah, yeah.
And when people saw that, they just lost
it's
their
so
minds
sweet,
because
yeah.
it's just like like no one thought they'd actually go through with it.
It's gonna be hard to balance that kind of character, though. You know, he's like a giant dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but there's a lot of Ultimate's gonna sell well. It's gonna be a massive success. We all know it.
For sure.
So, again, from the last podcast I mentioned that Crackdown 3, they said that they're pretty much done. So if they're pretty much done, we talked about this. Why not release it sooner? You're releasing on a date, February 22nd, 2019, when you have massive games like Metro, Exodus, Days Gone, is that zombie game from PS4, and then Anthem.
Right.
Is releasing on that same day. Anthem is going to be one of the biggest most anticipated games in 2019.
Big release, yeah.
And Crackdown 3, you know, like Crackdown's a really great series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Basically, I don't know. Crackdown 3 might be in trouble if they release it on a day like that, where 3 massive releases are already coming out. So I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just going on through that now. So for games like Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, Germany was very strict with their censorship laws.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would notice that in some of the cutscenes, Hitler's in one of the cutscenes and they completely just took out his mustache. There's a lot of other different, like a lot of the Nazi propaganda littered throughout the game. It's literally all over the game. Was
I mean, it's about killing Nazis.
Exactly. So. But Germany actually loosened their censorship in games with Nazi propaganda.
Yeah.
So according to gamingindustry.biz, German national authorities will defer to the ESRB, allowing age ratings to titles that depict symbols of unconstitutional organizations. So they're loosening it.
That's good.
Which is good. I know Australia really needs to loosen up some of their
They've
rules.
had very strict like ESRB rules for years now.
We Happy Few was actually banned there for a while because of the drug thing with the whole taking that pill.
Yeah.
So Slender Man released this Friday to very, very mixed reviews. Some people hated it. Some people actually liked it. We're actually seeing it tonight, so give that impression on the next podcast.
One. Yeah.
But the movie was banned in 2 Wisconsin counties. I'm so sorry, I can't even speak. So it was banned in 2 Wisconsin counties because if you guys don't remember, back in 2014, I believe, it was the Slender Man stabbings where these 2 girls, I believe they were like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
They took their one friend out of the room and into the woods and stabbed her, I believe it was 19 times.
90, yeah.
The girl's name was Peyton. She lived miraculously.
Yeah.
She's doing better. And one of the girls, the girl who actually stabbed her, Morgan Weiss, I think her name is, she was just sentenced to 40 years in a psychiatric ward. The other one, I don't know what's going to happen to her, but they're being tried as adults because they're 16 now, but they were being tried as adults, so that was a big thing. If you want to learn more about that case, there's this amazing HBO documentary that's been out for a year, I think. It's called Beware the Slender Man. It's not a horror movie. It's definitely scary just because of the real world aspect of it. But it's a documentary surrounding those girls and why they did that. And they claim that Slender Man, the fictional character from Creepypasta, told them to do it. So it's really scary. And the reason why Wisconsin bans that in the 2 counties is it's very reasonable. You know, they're kind of
for sure. Yeah,
Sony's gotten a lot of criticism saying that they're kind of using this to boost their movie, basically.
Right.
So that's kind of sick. So this is so disappointing, but Venom. Sony wants to push a PG-13 rating, not an R rating.
It really is.
Yeah.
So
so what they said was they want to push the PG-13 rating to their limits, but they don't want to make it R. Okay, fine. That's okay. Just don't ruin the movie because you need to tone down the violence.
Yeah, that's my big gripe right now. Is like if they, because especially if they've already like gotten most things done. Again, could this be another editing disaster because of that?
Yeah. I don't know. The CGI doesn't look that amazing anyway, so
Yeah,
I
Venom
know it's
looks
still early, but
fine.
it looks. I think it looks pretty cool. But after hearing about that PG-13 push, I was not happy.
Yeah.
So I know we're both big fans of Cuphead. Sold
Mhm.
3 million copies. It was announced the other day.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's getting a DLC. Is it next year?
Is it DLC or is it a new game?
I think it's like a add-on,
Okay.
but it's like a newer campaign.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
with like a new world and new. I think like a new like kind of stage and then
Mhm.
new bosses, and you can play as I guess Miss Cuphead now or Miss Chalice. I
Miss
think her name
Teacup.
is.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. 3
Yeah.
million copies sold.
Well deserved. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said before, QuakeCon is happening right now, and Doom Eternal, the second entry in ID's like rebooted Doom series, we got 2 gameplay trailers. So I watched them.
Mhm.
They were fucking awesome.
Oh, so good.
I thought they were so cool. The little hidden blade that Doom guy has now
Mhm.
is so cool. Something about Doom that it just nails is the sound design.
Oh my god, yeah.
So you know that, remember from the first game, and there was that light beam railgun that it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a disc thing. So
Yeah.
you know they brought it back. It looks red and it like shoots.
Right.
When you charge it up and you shoot the things, it makes like a noise like doot 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 doot, and
Yep.
it explodes. Like
Mhm.
it just
Yeah,
oh god,
the
it's
sound
so
design
cool.
is fantastic. From like even like the soundtrack to the, yeah, just like everything else like around you is just like really well crafted.
Right, and some other things I noticed. So the double barrel shotgun now has a rope attached to it, so you can like attach to enemies, reel yourself in, and shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of creates a new layer of verticality.
Yeah.
And something they introduced in that trailer is they added a lot of, I don't want to say platforming, but yeah, platforming, like swinging. Just
Mhm.
introducing more ways to traverse the area, and then they're also added that little dodge thing, which
Mhm.
can come in handy a lot. Something they added also, they didn't even need to add this, but it just shows their dedication to the project. Is when you shoot some of the enemies, like let's say it was the knights. When you're
Mhm.
shooting the knights, you actually see part of their skin falling off as you're
Yeah.
shooting them, and yet they're still fighting and stuff. I think that is such a cool detail. You now have a built-in flamethrower and missile launcher. And tell me if you agree with me, but it kind of looks like it's a little more self-aware of how dumb and violent it is.
Yeah, oh, totally. And like even 2016 was kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
Like Doom, like the remake, like it totally, even like with the story I noticed it completely kind of plays on like the narrative of it and like kind of just knows that you're not here to like get this crazy deep narrative, like you're here to like kill endless hordes of demons.
Yeah.
And yeah, this new one, I think what I liked about the trailer was it doesn't look like it's like changing
Hmm.
a ton. It just looks like it's like adding on.
Mhm.
Like you said, like that the dodge ability, the rope, the verticality, like I think Doom 2016 like touched upon that,
Mhm.
and there were some levels where you were like had to climb, and I remember
Yeah.
this one level of like you're kind of in this like furnace area,
Oh, that big generator.
and there's
right?
this one
Yeah.
room, yeah, where you essentially kind of like climb around and like kind of have to like navigate, and it was fun, but like I think with some tweaks,
Tighter controls.
tighter controls, and probably just like more mechanics to make it like smoother, like I
Mhm.
think they can really make this next one like a ton of fun with that.
I agree. Yeah. So just it looks to be great. I think I
Mhm.
think it's gonna be awesome. It's just more Doom with extra spiciness.
Extra spiciness.
So yeah, look out for Doom. I
Mhm.
think it's coming out next year.
Yep.
Probably
Yeah,
around the same.
2019.
Yeah, maybe like the first quarter, second quarter.
I think
don't
so,
know,
yeah.
spring. So look out for that. So that's all the news that I have for today. There was a lot, and
Mhm.
now we're gonna kind of get into our discussion today. Where I guess we're gonna kind of make it up as we go. But
Mhm.
um, Halo. So some of the biggest genres that we play
Mhm.
and we love are Halo, Call of Duty, and Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
I play all of them. I love all 3 of the series. But yeah, I just wanted to hand it over to you to
Hmm.
talk about Halo, and let's kind of go off of the TV
I
series.
was gonna say, yeah, I think the
How do you
TV
feel about
series.
that?
I I think Showtime is very ambitious about this. Like a lot of the details they've said, they've actually gone like this is a quote from I forget what website it was, but they actually said that this is going to be like they said their version of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They said like they're very ambitious about its quality and kind of its scale. One thing they were talking about is they wanted to emphasize though that it's not a fantasy and that it's like a science fiction. And I know that sounds like almost obvious. You're like, well, no shit, it's Halo. But I think one thing was a lot of fans, um, kind of including myself, like Halo 4 and 5 started kind of leaning more, I'd say like kind of like a soft sci-fi where things kind of became a little more, I guess, even more like extraordinary, if that makes
What
sense.
do you mean?
So you have like look at like Halo 1, 2, and 3 where they were very kind of like or even like Reach. Like they were very militaristic, very based in like the kind of idea of like the war, the human covenant
Mm-hmm.
war. And in Halo the originals like you had like the Grave Mine and stuff and like the Flood. But again, like Chief and like the kind of like military was very kind of very hard sci-fi. It was something you can kind of see happening
Mm-hmm.
in the future if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 343 and I think honestly it goes more aesthetically. They kind of took things and made it a little more almost. I don't want to say too fantasy like because it's not necessarily fantasy, but more I think like liberal with their designs. Because
Mm-hmm.
look at like let's say the Prophet of Truth as the villain versus like the Didact in Halo 4. Prophet of Truth kind of is just this character who's he like leads this obviously the Covenant, and he's like this huge military head. But he does through like religious dogma and all of that. So that's like a very kind of practical character, and that's something that you could see in real life.
What
Whereas,
about Gravemind though?
well, yeah, the grave exactly like the Grave Mine is something that is a little more out there. But
Mm-hmm.
whereas Halo 4, when you see the Didact for the first time, like I won't lie, me personally, and you neither have read any
No,
outside Halo sources.
no.
Like he was kind of jarring because he comes out of this like ball and he's got all this like he kind of looks very he looks like a fantasy character.
Okay, I kind of see what you're saying here.
Yeah. Like
Yes.
it's become very and then even with like with Halo 5 you have the Warden Eternal and he's like the kind of the grand champion knight of Cortana
Mm-hmm.
and like how Cortana's trying to lead Chief to like get her or get him to like serve her. It's almost becoming very kind of like
Religious?
not even religious but like fantastical. Like I feel
Okay.
like there's a lot of like fantasy tropes coming into play.
Okay.
Whereas Spartan Locke's character was a little more back like oh we're hunting down Chief
He's
and we're looking for
nostalgic in a
him.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like it's interesting just how they've kind of taken that direction, which a lot of people disliked. Me personally, I didn't necessarily hate where the story went. I didn't like Halo 5 story how it was told,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't necessarily hate the direction per se.
I thought it was just unnecessarily complicated. The
Yeah.
plot took way too many. It was just Halo One is so simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like most of the, I
Right.
don't want to say so simple, but they have a story that you can wrap your head around while you can still think about it, still
Yeah,
enjoy
exactly.
it. And I'm not saying Halo 4 I thought was an incredible campaign. I'm not a huge like we said
The
before,
story was very good.
we're
Yeah.
not a huge fan of the Prometheans, but the very last scene of Halo 4 or one of the last scenes when Cortana quote unquote dies,
Mm-hmm.
like that was a very
That's
personal connection.
powerful. Yeah.
It's really like, just kudos to the direction and
Mm-hmm.
the actors, the voice actors. You can the love between both of those characters is so tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's such a huge scene for both Chief and Cortana because she's in the back of his head most of the time, or
Right.
she actually like felt him in that scene. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it. I feel like Halo 5 was such a big letdown
It kind of shat
from
all over that. Yeah.
from Halo 4. Yeah,
um.
but Halo 5 is supposed to be Think of it as like a part one to a two-part finale.
That's what I've always thought of it as. Like Halo 5 just didn't feel complete.
Yeah.
And like I remember actually the thing was back when Halo 2 even came out, people really did not like the
Really?
story. Oh yeah, people like
I thought Halo 2 was like the most praised Halo.
it is now. Like and like gameplay wise and campaign level design wise, absolutely, yeah, it was the most like praised. But
And multiplayer.
yeah. But when the campaign came out, people really did not like the cliffhanger. I read this review where like I remember people talking about the Arbiter as a character and like how he just hated him, and he's like, I don't know why they added him. It's stupid. I don't know why they're making the elites characters. So it's kind of interesting how there's now a parallel with like Halo 5 and like how people are like, oh, it's stupid,
See,
it's ridiculous. I don't think they're the exact same thing. I think they're very
right.
different. I think Halo 5 was objectively not a well-made story.
Yeah.
Whereas Halo 2 actually was. Halo 2 just kind of, needed Halo 3 to wrap it up.
To go off that point that you made about that guy saying that, the Covenant shouldn't really have any personality to them,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't disagree anymore.
Oh, me too.
I feel that what makes basically the antagonist crafts the protagonist.
Absolutely,
You need a strong antagonist to give the protagonist a reason to be doing all of this in the first place. Like, look at you play Black Ops 2, right?
Yeah.
That was written by one of the Dark Knight writers,
Mm-hmm.
and it showed that it wasn't it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was an emotional story where Menendez was a sympathetic and empathetic character.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just and I was talking about this in one article I was writing for Assassin's Creed that I sent you the other day, is that Assassin's Creed, some games have really strong antagonists, and then others I feel that a lot of storytelling, even Marvel itself, in the movie industry, they just have they have a hard time creating a good villain.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a good villain is someone. This might be more personal choice, but a villain who is sympathetic and you can see his or her motive.
Yeah.
For doing what they're
and it
doing.
makes sense. Yeah. Like
I don't know. That's just how I see it.
no, I 100% agree. And I think with Marvel's case, I think partly sometimes you get studios who I think like you can get down to it and just say it is lazy writing. And sometimes I also think though that there is like almost people being afraid to make the villain a little too empathetic, because I think especially when it comes to Marvel movies, you want to be rooting for the hero. And I think like sometimes they're afraid to like almost give conflicting interests, because it's like, oh, if we make the hero make sense, then we don't want kids or like like anyone like that like getting too confused or whatever. Which is a totally stupid reason, and I think it's just like dumbing things down.
Well, I think Marvel really hit the nail on the head with or not really nailed it, but did a good job and improved with Eric Killmonger from Black Panther.
Yeah,
I thought he was a pretty good villain, and Thanos was pretty good too.
Thanos I thought was fantastic.
Yeah,
like I thought Thanos was by far the best villain they've had.
Thanos is great, but some of the other villains. This isn't just about Marvel, just in gaming industry and stuff. Like, people have problems, and I'm not judging, because I know it's probably insanely difficult to create like a character that
right
represents
it's
something
difficult,
bigger. But yeah, I feel that that's what Halo, because we're on the topic of Halo, that's something that they need, especially with Infinite, which they're going to be. It looks like Infinite is going back to its roots. Yeah, and that's what it looks like. I know we only saw
even
one
just from the
trailer.
Art direction, but
Right.
I think there is a reason they showed his old armor. Like, I mean, because that's like a huge critique of 343's games is just the entire art design.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of agree. I think the new Spartans kind of look way too busy. I actually like Chief's new design, but a lot of like the multiplayer armors and stuff,
they look way too crazy.
They're gross, and like some of them are just downright like funny, like
Yeah.
how bad they look. So I think 343 showing his old helmet and like his old armor set, like I think that like that shows more than that. Just like, oh, we're just he's going back to his old armor.
Right.
I think that's showing that like we've listened. We know that people like. We kind of know now what people liked in Halo, and we're gonna try and go back to that.
Yeah. But going off the topic again of Master Chief being one of the focal points of the series, I I was listening to another podcast and reading a bunch of people's comments on Reddit and shit,
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying that if there's a Halo game or if there's a Halo show rather,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be Master Chief. Master Chief has to be in it because it's Halo. If you don't focus on Master Chief, you don't have him in it, it's not going to be good. Look, I can't disagree with that more.
I agree. Yeah.
Look at Reach.
Yeah.
Reach, I thought was the most emotionally engaging Halo story. Besides
Yeah.
4 at the end, with between Master Chief and
Right.
Cortana, because that was a relationship that's been built up
For
for
4 games.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Reach, we knew those characters. We knew Noble Team for not that long,
Mm-hmm.
and watching them, without them, the Halo wouldn't even be a thing
Yeah.
without Reach. And it gave such a great story, and Master Chief wasn't even in it.
Yeah.
And I feel that the Halo universe is so vast, and
Exactly.
I would love. This is just me, and I'm sure you would probably agree with me. I would love this show to expand on the Flood.
Mm-hmm.
The Flood it's such an interesting. It's such an interesting aspect of the Halo universe because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was reading the Halo wiki and I was doing research
Mm-hmm.
on the Flood, that they were created by the Forerunners to kill off the Prometheans, I think, or something like that. They were brought about
Mm-hmm.
for a purpose of terminating a species.
I think, or I'm actually okay. I read something about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because before the Forerunners, there was like the Precursors,
Right.
and
It
they
was
were
the
like
precursor Forerunner.
literally
yeah.
like gods. Yes, like the equivalent of like gods, pretty
Right.
much. And the Forerunners were the first species to like I guess hit that technological point of like almost like they could overcome them.
You're right. Yep,
I think the Flood, if I recall correctly, might have been from a different galaxy altogether.
Yeah.
I think the primordial or the precursors or whatever were like warning them about them and they didn't listen. I could be totally wrong right now.
No,
I read this a while ago.
I think you're close.
I'm somewhere in the ballpark.
Right.
But then yeah, the Forerunners created the Prometheans to be a response to the Flood because it's like, well, if we're all robots, the Flood can't take us over. But
Right.
the Prometheans or the Foreigners are
Right.
like, no, that's dumb. Like, why would we do that? And they just built Halo rings that would kill everything instead.
Yeah.
And then there was humans who apparently also in the lore, it's like humans were at the same technological level as Forerunners for a while, but then Forerunners won this war because humans were running from the Flood and then sent them back to the Stone Age, and now humans are catching up again.
Sounds real complicated.
Yeah. But that's just like
that's cool though.
scratching the surface of like how deep Halo can actually get.
Yeah.
So why Chief again then? Like, and I think Chief's character has been explored a ton.
But not though I do agree with you with that. He hasn't been explored on a different level. We started to see some sort of emotion out of him
In 4, yeah.
in 4, a little bit in 5, not even in 5.
5,
That's
not
one
a
thing
lot, yeah.
that they did wrong in 5 is the Spartans, the blue team.
Mm-hmm.
Those are supposed to be his oldest friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that sense out
Not
of
at
them.
all, yeah.
And this is not bashing them, but they wrote such a good story in the 4th one,
Mhm.
and then I didn't get what I wanted. So if the Showtime does explore Chief as not just a robotic soldier that just is a
Mhm.
badass and kills the Covenant and all other things, but if they focus on him on a deeper level, that could be really cool. But I do agree with you that expanding upon the already vast Halo universe would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, going off of that point though, who was the producer's name or the director? It's Greg Levine or
Wait, which guy?
the guy who's like writing or
Oh, I
directing the
don't
show.
know. Greg Levine, I think, was one of the program or
Oh,
something.
okay.
But the writer is apparently he's not a sci-fi writer.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He wrote I think it was Dallas and
Wait.
some other show. Like and they're very just like I read the synopsis on these and like they're like essentially just dramas.
Let me look it up. But yeah, keep talking.
But they actually mentioned like they purposely did that. Like that was a conscious choice by them to go for someone who isn't used to directing like huge battle sequences and like kind of like epics and stuff because they want to focus on the more human side. So I think in that regard, that's a good sign, because I think that means that they will probably prioritize more character development rather
Yeah.
than just crazy action all the time.
Hmm.
And I mean, I also imagine that like there's only so much crazy action they can do. I think it's gonna be a lot of drama in this show, which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
I also hope we even get some like Marines or like
ODST.
ODSTs or
Yeah.
something, or even like kind of more like higher up general ranks, and like we get some maybe like kind of military strategy involved. I think that would be really cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they can explore. I guess we just have to kind of wait and hear more news about it. But I think it's cool that Master Chief is going to be a focal point. But I think, you know how they released with the games, like the kind of Nightfall and those like shitty kind of live action?
Yeah. Oh,
They weren't
Nightfall was
great.
rough.
And they
Yeah.
just portrayed Chief as this, as he is in the beginning. It's very, you know, archaic
Yeah.
what they did with him. If they explore Chief in this new Showtime series as something more than just a robot, then I think we could have a winner on our hands.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that's we were talking about Halo and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, big staple about Halo, not only with its campaign, is its multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my Xbox right around the time Halo 3 came out, so
Mm-hmm.
2007. And that Halo 3 was my introduction into online gaming.
Yeah. Same here.
And it is, oh god, it's such
It's
a,
phenomenal.
oh god, it's so good. Everything
Yeah.
about that game is amazing. But what I noticed is Halo is now starting to get a more competitive community
Mm-hmm.
with Halo 5, because they added things like sprinting. There's just more, it makes it more competitive.
Yeah.
And Halo to begin with was never an easy multiplayer game.
Oh, not at all.
You had to
Yeah.
deplete people's shields and then kill them, and then the weapons, you needed some sort of skill. Halo, let's just put it this way, Halo requires more skill than
Yeah.
maybe Call of Duty. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Because whereas Call of Duty, you rank up and you kind of build around your guns, and
Yeah.
you get upgrades. Like Halo has always been, for the most part, minus like some of Reach and 4, has always been pretty much completely balanced, and
Yeah.
you have to just know the map, know the spawn points, and know how to play in order to be good.
Yeah. So, which was your favorite multiplayer?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I honestly loved Reach. Reach was like, honestly, like for me, I think prime like Halo multiplayer.
Mhm.
3 obviously is fantastic. I really do also love 5.
Yeah.
5 is a lot of fun. Like
Warzone was a great addition.
Warzone was fantastic. I think the gameplay in Halo 5 is like, I almost find it hard to play other games. Like it's almost like, not bashing Halo 3's gameplay or anything, but
Mhm.
going back to like a very slow, kind of floaty and clunky character is kind of difficult after Halo 5, where you can like
Yeah.
sprint around, jump over walls, and you're just like this acrobatic like character.
Yeah. So I actually disagree with you. I loved the slow stuff. I love Halo 5. I love the multiplayer. I think it's really fun. I think what they changed is really cool. But it doesn't really feel like Halo to me anymore.
Yeah, and
Um,
I can agree with that. It definitely has changed a lot past its original roots.
yeah, but I would say my favorite Halo multiplayer would just have to be 3, but also surprisingly ODST had those.
Oh, the
I know
firefight.
I know ODST kind of, it also released the multi. It had like 2 discs where one was
Mhm.
was it Reach expanded Reach multiplayer, or no, it was
ODST
Halo
expanded
3.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, so with ODST, I remember spending weekends upon weekends trying to get all 7 Vidmaster achievements to unlock the recon armor
Yeah.
for Halo 3. And 2 of those, I believe 2 or 3 of those Vidmaster achievements you had to do in ODST. And you had to complete some of the hardest missions on Legendary with a bunch of skulls activated. So if one of you died, then you all have to restart from the past checkpoint. But then there was one on Halo 3 called Halo Anniversary,
Mhm.
which is the one where you had to play the mission Halo with the Iron Skull, all those on Legendary, and it
Like-
was so brutally hard, but it was
Yeah.
so much fun trying to conquer that. I think it wound up taking us like over an hour to complete. And then ODST had one, I forget the name of the exact achievement, but you had to. It was a firefight mode,
Mhm.
and I believe you had to do it on heroic or something. It was incredibly hard, and I never actually beat it. But hunting, I feel like Bungie did such a great job because the VidMaster achievements brought the community back to the game
Mhm.
and it gave people a reason to keep playing and to keep grinding so
Yeah.
that they
It
can
gives
get a
something to work
reward.
towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool and so much fun. So I would say Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST were my prime multiplayer days. And I do miss um,
Mm.
the slower kind of aspect of the multiplayer. I also miss the no zooming
That I
in.
agree with. The aim down sights, I like don't even really do it in Halo 5
Yeah.
that much
But sometimes
because
you have to. If
well,
you,
with the battle rifle, yeah, it's interesting because it is like a cosmetic difference. It's not
Mhm.
even technically a gameplay difference because
Yeah.
it is the same amount of zoom. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. It's like it is a very different game.
Yeah, it is. It's changed.
Hmm.
And some people argue that it's too much like Call of Duty, and now Call of Duty is too much like Halo. Just
At
just
this, I think at this
whatever.
point, it's the whole idea that like the shooter market has become so saturated and like
Yeah,
there's so many shooters and like there's kind of this standard now that they all have to fit. And
yeah,
that's I think where Halo 5 suffered a little bit was also because it's like the whole like oh it has to be 60 frames a second always. And so a lot of the graphics, I'm not saying Halo 5's graphics are bad by any
hmm
stretch,
hmm
but when you do look at some of the textures, especially in like Forge on Halo
right,
5, like some of them do look kind of tacky and like
right. They
almost
do.
plasticky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
Like Halo 5's graphics are I would almost describe them as just weird
Yeah.
because they're not bad, but like sometimes you're like that just looks cartoony or
Well,
like fake. Yeah.
they made some of their competitive maps. 343 took some Forge made maps,
Mhm.
and it so like let's for example, there could be a rendered
Right.
rock, and then they just add these things to it. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
so it doesn't look like a professionally made map.
Not at all. Yeah.
But yeah, just going off of that with the whole trying to keep up to a specific standard.
Mhm.
I want to quickly talk about my impressions with Black Ops 4 and
Yeah.
We Happy Few. So Black Ops 4 beta came out this weekend from August 10th to the 13th for Xbox One and PC. And I got my hands on it because I pre-ordered it. And I'm always one to not judge the Call of Duty book by its cover and just
Mhm.
play it and get my own opinion. I made some mistakes, especially with Infinite Warfare. I thought that was an awful entry, probably the worst, and Ghosts was really bad too.
Oh.
But I started playing this one, and immediately I noticed that I feel like Black Ops 4 has an identity crisis. I think that it was. I think we talked about this on the last podcast too, but it was supposed to be a game that a different game than what it is. I feel like something happened within the development that warranted Activision and who's the Treyarch
Mhm.
to basically stop what they're doing, scrap everything, scrap the campaign, and kind of quickly revamp to make something different. And I know that sounds like a negative thing, but I started playing the Black Ops 4 beta, and I immediately noticed that it feels different. Not only does it feel different, like it still feels like Call of Duty, but it does have something different about it. All the guns feel very weighty and very powerful, and the sound design is fantastic. The graphics look really nice. Besides, it's a beta, so there are some bugs and glitches that do get annoying. The specialists are back, and it's supposed to be actually a prequel to Black Ops 3. So there are specialists that return, like Ruin, Prophet, and some
Mhm.
other ones. But I personally like the specialists. It kind of gives more of a strategy to the game. But another thing that I noticed is Black Ops 4 is incredibly fast.
Mhm.
The movement speed is crazy fast. The maps are the 6 or 7 maps that they actually gave us feel very close quarter, so it doesn't really you don't really have to use an assault rifle. I kind of find myself using submachine guns, but that doesn't really matter. One thing I am worried about though is the overall map design. So first of all, how many are we getting? Because there's no campaign, so there better be a lot of maps. Number two, I'm worried because a lot of these maps, there's one called Frequency where there's one section of the map where a lot of people like to go and like literally all the teams come together and
Mhm.
fight there. But if one team dominates over them, it becomes a camping spot.
Yeah.
So I feel that Treyarch's usually really good with making the maps.
I
They're
was
really
gonna say I
usually
always
really
remember
good.
Treyarch like like the first Black Ops
Yeah,
and even like World at War like always having really good maps.
yeah. And so I was just kind of confused, but overall I would say that I'm really really happy with the what the beta's doing. I'm so excited about when I say so, I mean like I'm kind of excited about Blackout, the battle royale mode, because
Hmm.
I'm not a huge battle royale fan, but I'm curious to see what they do with it. Because apparently you can play as like characters from past Black Ops games, like
Hmm.
all different. So
That's
that's gonna
pretty
be
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we got the zombies mode to look forward to too. So so far I'm really really liking the beta. I'm finding myself having a lot more fun than I did with World War II, and other previous Call of Duty games. So I think this is I think you guys should give it a try. If you're, I was very skeptical, but always give it a try. It's a free beta. I don't know if they're going to do an open beta, but you have to pre-order the game. But remember, if you pre-order the game, you can always move that $5 that you put down to pre-order the game onto a different game that you want if you don't like the beta.
Hmm.
You don't have to buy it if you pre-order it. But yeah, that's my impression on Black Ops. And then I mentioned that I was playing We Happy Few, and really quickly, so We Happy Few, I get a huge Bioshock feeling from it
Yeah.
because it's just like an alternate universe with just some wacky things going on. Um, my only gripes, I have a couple gripes about it, but mostly I think it's a fantastic game. With so far an amazing and engaging story. It's just kind of shallow gameplay. So the combat feels very mediocre. You just like press one button to attack and then another button to
Hmm.
block. You can get easily